Radio Theater.
In the air.
Dedicated to man's imagination, the theater of the mind.
You know what our call letters WGN stand for, don't you?
Welcome to WGN Radio Theater.
Special 3-hour presentation.
And your hosts, Carl Amari and Lisa Wolf.
All right, about 8 minutes after 10 p.m. here on the WGN Radio Theater. It is Leap Day. Or Leap Night. It's February 29th, Lisa.
It sure is. That only comes once every 4 years, and it's almost over for
My
today.
vivacious co-host. It's program number 458 in the series, and we're going to be here till 3 o'clock in the morning, last time I checked.
Well, I will. We'll see if you can stay awake.
And we will have 6, not 5, 6 classic radio shows for you, because the last show that we're going to air, well, I'll get to that in a minute, but we're going to start things off with Tales of the Texas Rangers, really great detective western adventure starring Joel McCrea from 1950. Then a comedy with Phil Harris and Alice Faye from 1949. Then Orson Welles stars in The Lives of Harry Lime, which was a prequel to the movie The Third Man. You're going to really like that. And then Ronald and Benita Coleman star in the very first episode of the General Electric Theater from 1953. Then Hour 5, Old Blue Eyes himself, Frank Sinatra, stars in Rocky Fortune. And that show only runs about like 22 minutes. So we will have time to play a quarter-hour mystery series.
It's going to be very unexpected.
Yeah, called The Unexpected.
Oh.
You ruined it for me.
Oh, I thought I made it
But that's
better.
okay.
I think I made it better for you,
Yeah, it's
actually.
a mystery series called The Unexpected. So we have a lot of classic radio shows for you all the way till 3 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be a lot of fun. So stick around. We'll be back after these words.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you're about to hear is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
This is Just the Facts, sponsored by Cat's Pride, and we are going to be talking about 1950 because we're about to play a Tales of the Texas Rangers episode from 1950. So the first one, we're going to play a song from a Broadway show that opened on November 24th, 1950.
Luck be a lady tonight. Luck be a lady tonight.
Any guesses on what show, Carl?
Lucky if you've ever been a lady.
I should know this.
You probably should. It ran all the way through.
Hello, Dolly? I don't know.
It all went all the way through 1953. This is Luck Be a Lady Tonight from Guys and Dolls.
God, yeah, Damon Runyon.
That's right.
That's right.
That's exactly right. Based on the short stories by American author Damon Runyon,
I absolutely should have known that.
So the musical has had several Broadway and London revivals, and of course a 1955 film adaptation starring Marlon Brando, Frank Sinatra.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. I'll give you a chance to redeem yourself.
You know, musicals I'm not too...
I know, but I did it anyways. So Silly Putty was introduced as a toy March 6th of 1950. We're going to hear a television commercial for Silly Putty.
Hello there.
Hello there.
You know, I've been all around this wonderful world of ours, and in all of this world, nothing else is Silly Putty. What is Silly Putty?
It's true.
What is Silly Putty?
Well, it's a real solid liquid. If you pull it so, it'll go forever, like taffy. But
it is like taffy.
This is a crazy commercial, though.
Tug, it'll break.
It's just a guy standing there holding the Silly Putty.
Yeah.
So this toy was inducted into the National Toy Hall of Fame in 2001. Did you have Silly Putty
Lisa,
as a child?
I never was without Silly Putty.
Okay. Well,
I should have been a spokesperson as a kid for Silly Putty.
Right. Well, here's your opportunity.
That's how much I loved Silly Putty.
So it used to be called Bouncing Putty or Nutty Putty. And when the Japanese invasion of Asia threatened America's rubber supply during World War II, that's when chemists at GE began looking for a synthetic substitute. So at that time, they didn't know what to do with it. It sort of just was a novelty item. But they hired some students to fill up some plastic eggs with blobs of Silly Putty for Easter. And they sold them for $1, and there you go.
Wow.
So Silly Putty orders topped 250,000 in 3 days once they were featured in, it was a New Yorker article talking about Silly Putty.
I'm telling you.
You should have been the guy.
I always had silly putty.
Should have been. Do you remember using it with newspaper
Yep.
and taking the print off?
Right.
Okay.
The comics.
All right. Now,
color
this
comics.
is one I'm positive you're going to know.
Mm-hmm.
This is a theme song that was a very big song in 1950.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. What
Of
is
course.
it?
Well, the TV series was called The Third Man.
That's right. It was. Third Man. Of course, this is an instrumental.
Yeah, and you know who played the Third Man on television? It was not Orson Welles.
No, it wasn't.
It was Michael Rennie. Michael Rennie. You know, from The Day the Earth Stood Still was the star.
This is a very top song in 1950.
That's a zither.
Yeah, that is a zither.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Of course, the film was a 1949 film, Third Man. It was 11 weeks at number 1 on the U.S. charts. And the success of this song was a trend in releasing film theme musicals as singles.
Yeah, wow.
So, great tune.
Very cool, Lisa.
Yep,
Thank
great
you
stuff
for all
back
of that.
In 1950.
1950, and that is the year we're going to play our Tales of the Texas Rangers episode from. Don't forget, we have a text-in line, 312-981-7200. We love getting your texts. And just in case you don't know this, we are here every single Saturday night for 5 hours. Yeah, from 10 p.m. till 3 o'clock in the morning. And we play all these great radio shows, you know, Jack Benny and The Shadow and Boston Blackie and The Whistler and Tales of the Texas Rangers. Now, this series was a radio western police series set in the 1950s, not the 1800s. Now, a lot of the westerns that we air, you know, were set in the 1800s. Not this one. Even though it was a Western, it was set in modern day. It was created by Stacy Keach Sr., and it aired on NBC Radio from 1950 to 1952, and it starred Joel McCrea as Texas Ranger Jace Pearson. He used the latest scientific techniques to bring criminals to justice. It was a procedural drama, and in many ways, it was similar to Dragnet, but with a Western flavor. And Keach and Jack Webb, Lisa, actually were good friends, and they officed together. And Stacy Keach saw how great Dragnet was doing, and so they sort of collaborated together, and he then launched Tales of the Texas Rangers. It was not as successful as Dragnet, but it did very well. And there was a consultant on the show called Captain Manuel T. Lone Wolf Gonzalez. He was said to have killed 31 men during his 30-year career as a Texas Ranger.
That's like a
itchy
man a
trigger
year.
finger.
That's more than a man a year.
Itchy trigger finger. And there was a total of 95 radio broadcasts produced. And then there was a television series that lasted a couple of years in 1958. But right now it's time for a radio episode called Hanging by a Thread, November 26th, 1950. We're going to listen to this uninterrupted. Here is Joel McCrea in Tales of the Texas Rangers.
The National Broadcasting Company presents Joel McCrea in Tales of the Texas Rangers. Tonight, transcribed from Hollywood, another authentic reenactment of a case from the files of the Texas Rangers. Tales of the Texas Rangers, starring Joel McCrea as Ranger Jace Pearson. Texas, more than 260,000 square miles, and 50 men who make up the most famous and oldest law enforcement body in North America. Now, from the files of the Texas Rangers come these stories based on fact. Only names, dates, and places are fictitious for obvious reasons. The events themselves are a matter of record. Case for tonight, Hanging by a Thread.
At 9:15 on the morning of May 5th, 1947, the telephone rang in the sheriff's office in the little town of Finney, Texas. Sheriff Hanson answered it.
Sheriff's office, Hanson speaking.
Sheriff, this is George Hawks.
How are you, George? What can I do for you?
Nothing now. Nobody can.
How's that?
I just called to tell you I'm going to kill myself.
What did you say?
You heard me. It'll take you 20 minutes to get out to my place. By that time, I'll be dead.
Now, wait a minute, George. What? Hello? George! Operator!
Yes, sir?
Oh, this is the sheriff. That caller just came in here. Where was it from?
1 moment, Sheriff.
If this is someone's idea of a practical joke...
Hello, Sheriff.
Yes?
That call was placed from 317 out on Gum Creek Road, the residence of Mr. George Hawk.
The sheriff raced out to the Hawks Ranch and found George Hawks dead, hanging in the barn. Then he made another discovery which prompted him to put in a call to the Texas Rangers. Ranger Jace Pearson was assigned to the case and drove to the Hawks Ranch to meet Sheriff Hansen.
Jace, am I glad to see you.
Howdy, Sheriff. It's been a long time.
Yeah, a month of Sundays. Now, I hope I didn't call you down here for nothing, Jace, but this looks mighty fishy to me. So I want you to take a look at the body.
Hasn't been taken down yet?
No, I put in a call to the coroner, but he was out somewhere. I left a message for him to come out here as soon as they could locate him.
How'd you find out about the body, Sheriff?
I got a phone call, Jace, about 9:15. Said it was George Hawks and he was going to kill himself. I thought maybe it was some joker, so I traced the call.
And?
It came from here, all right. So I drove out fast as I could, but George was dead. Hanging by the neck in the barn. No pulse. Body still warm.
Sheriff, I know you didn't call me down here to investigate a routine suicide. What's the catch?
Well, I'm getting to that. Come in the barn. This is just the way he was when I found him. You notice that's a wire he's hanging from, not a rope.
Yeah. Cut off the clothesline, probably.
Yeah. How'd you know?
Guessed. I saw the clothesline had been cut, part of it dragging on the ground in the yard.
You Rangers don't miss much, do you?
Not if we can help it, Sheriff.
Well, I want to show you something I found. Look at this, right under the body.
It's an oil drum.
Right. And the exact position I found it in, on its side. Now, you'll notice, Jace, that it's the only thing near enough that George could have stood on while he put the wire around his neck.
Here's the rim marks where it stood on the straw before it was tipped over.
Yeah, only he didn't stand on it. Look at this end of the drum. Thick with dust. Now, look at the other end. Dusty, too. Jace, there's not a sign of a footprint on either end of this oil drum.
You're right, Sheriff. He couldn't have climbed up in the loft and jumped, or that wire would have taken his head off.
Yeah, that's what I figured, and that's why I called you.
What about fingerprints?
No, couldn't find any, just a few smears. What does it spell to you, Jace?
Just one word, and an unpleasant one. Murder. I got my camera out of the car and took pictures of the body. And we took down the broken clothesline and nosed around for more evidence. The sheriff went up to look over the house while I combed the barn. How'd you make out up at the house, Sheriff?
Nothing, Jace. Absolutely nothing. No note from George. Everything tidy. No sign of a struggle. Funny nobody's around.
Who would be ordinarily?
His wife, Millie. One of the hands. He had 2 men working for him last I heard. How you coming, Jace?
I found a couple of things, but not the thing I want.
What's that?
The tool that was used to cut the wire he's hanging on. All I found in the barn here was this pair of rusty pliers.
Well, couldn't they have been used to cut it?
No, Sheriff, they wouldn't cut butter. Besides, the cut's too clean.
How about footprints?
No luck yet. But I think I've found what the killer stood on to string the body up.
What?
The stepladder. I found it under the tool bench. Been used lately. Marks in the dust where it'd been dragged out and then pushed back.
What are you fixing to do, Jace?
Going up the ladder and take a look at the beam where the wire's looped over.
Here, I'd better hold it for you. It's pretty rickety.
Thanks.
Find something?
I think so.
What is it, Jace?
Look at this. Stuck on a splinter where the wire went over the beam.
It's a piece of black thread.
Yeah, black wool thread.
Well, are you a string saver, Jace?
In a case like this, yes. Let's take a look outside. What about a motive, Sheriff?
For suicide or murder?
Either.
Can't think of a one.